Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another Wild Rift video, and in today's video I'll be playing Khazix in the jungle. So yesterday I made a tier list video, where I said if this video reaches 1500 likes, I'll make a Khazix video. As you can see, it did. So in the beginning part of the video, I'm going to explain to you how to build Kha'Zix. If you want to skip out the build part, there's timestamps in the description, but you really shouldn't, because this is actually a really important part. So let's immediately get into it. So to understand the build, you have to understand the playstyle as well that you have to play Kha'Zix on. I'll explain the playstyle during the gameplay part of the video, but this build is basically called a lethality build. So the whole point of this build is destroying squishies. Right? So take a look at these items. Duskblade of Draktar, 15 flat armor penetration. Umos Ghostblade, 10 flat armor penetration. Umbro's Glaive, 10 flat armor penetration. So if you count all those together, it's 35 flat armor penetration. So let me show you real quick what's important to understand about this. A cloth armor already gives you 20 armor. And if you go for this one, a chain vest, you already countered all the armor penetration of these three items. So do you guys get the point of this build? A squishy destroyer. You play this build against champions that don't build any armor. So let me explain. You start with a Duskblade. This is gonna give you insane burst damage when you finish off this item. You can finish this item before the first dragon, but you do need to get a kill if you want to get this item before the first dragon. If you get a kill, you can get it before the first dragon. Okay, so second item is always going to be Umos Ghostblade. See, with these two first items, you're going to have insanely flat armor penetration. And this is basically very strong in the early game. However, Kha'Zix falls off in the late game, and this build does too. So with this build, you're really empowering the early/mid game, guys. You're really focused on demolishing the enemy, especially the squishies. So after these two items, in 90% of the games, or maybe 80%, I would go for an Umbro Glaive. So, it all gives you a lot of attack damage, the flat armor penetration, which it's all about, guys, the flat armor penetration. And of course the passive, to clear out wards, but you don't really care that much about the passive. Does the enemy have a lot of armor? Like if they have a lot of armor, buy a Mortal Reminder instead, So because the Umbro Glaive is not going to do anything against a lot of armor, right? Like if the enemies have like 3 champions with a lot of armor and the enemy Jinx picked up Guardian Angel, because Guardian Angel also gives 40 armor. So if they do that, it's actually more worth it to go for this item, Mortal Reminder, because it penetrates 30% of the enemy's armor. So the Mortal Reminder combined with the flat armor penetration is still going to be very powerful. But keep in mind, if you go for a Mortal Reminder third item, you're not going to do as much burst damage to squishies. Keep that in mind, guys. So as my boots, I often go for Ioni Boots of Lucidity, just because, of the cooldown reduction and all the abilities, which is very nice. See, the thing is, the first ability already has a very low cooldown. The third ability can get reset in the late game, but the point is in the early game, the Ioni Boots of Lucidity is going to give you a lower cooldown on your ultimate, third ability, second ability. It's just very nice in the early game. But if the enemy has a lot of stuns, you should get a Mercury's Threads, guys, and you really should. It's very important actually, because if you get stunned or rooted or charmed and you're playing Kha'Zix, you're just gonna die because you're incredibly squishy. So does the enemy have a lot of stuns, like Twisted Faith, Galio, Seraphim, Ari, champions like that? Get a Mercury's Threads. It's gonna be better, Okay, so Guardian Angel is also going to be a part of your build, right? In the late game where you're going to be a bit weaker, like significantly weaker actually, you still want to be able to do something for your team. This one is going to make you a bit tankier, 40 armor of course. It's going to give you attack damage and the Guardian Angel. However, does the enemy have a lot of ability power? Like a lot of ability power, and their big threats are ability power champions. Don't get a Guardian Angel, get a Maw of Marmortius. Only get a Maw of Marmortius if the enemy, if they have like an Orianna that is hard carrying the game, but the enemy Jinx is not really doing a lot, for example. If that's the case, don't get a Guardian Angel, get a Maw of Marmortius, okay? So besides that, that's pretty much how you build him, the Umbro Glaive. And actually, if you don't build the Umbro Glaive as your third item, you're much better off getting a Death's Dance as your last item, right? So only build the Umbro Glaive if you're going for it as your third item. If you don't, then don't build it anymore. because flat armor penetration falls off in the late game because enemy champions get more and more armor when they're leveling up, right? So as your last item, if you don't have an Umbroglyph, don't get it. Get the Death Stance. However, if you do have an Umbroglyph as your third item, get a Mortal Reminder as your last item. Then this is going to be your build. As your enchantments, you want to get Stasis Enchant, you know, to survive. You can also get Proto Belt if you feel like you can catch out enemies more easily with it. I've already been talking for 5 minutes, but this has been really important for Khazix, you know, to understand how to build him. As your runes, see, I see some people go for Electrocute Khazix. See, the thing is, I don't like it because Conqueror is just such a broken rune. It's like, even though Khazix is a burst champion, I know Khazix is a burst champion. In the early game, like in the very early game, you're still going to be able to easily stack up those Conqueror stacks. In the late game, where you're killing off the enemies one by one, you're going to easily be able to stack up the Conqueror stacks. It's just going to provide you more value. And as a melee character, you know, it gives you 10% bonus damage at only 5 stacks. And it's so easy to stack up with Khazix. So easy. Like after one kill, you already have the full stacks. So, you know, if you really want to focus on ganking, like if you completely want to focus on just ganking, get an Electrocute. I don't recommend Electrocute. Conqueror is just going to be better overall. As my second rune, I go for Brutal. See, Brutal is really strong in the early game. You know, it allows you to just completely demolish the enemy in the early game. So this one is going to allow you to take those early fights and destroy the enemies, really. You can go for Triumph. I don't recommend it. See, like if you get, he's not a tank. That's the thing. He's not really a tank, but Triumph can still be good. It can, but I just recommend Brutal for the early game damage. Champion, also interesting, but you know, Champion is just a bad rune right now, so you don't really want to go for it. As my third rune, it depends on the enemy. Hunter Titan is generally going to be the best rune for you because it provides you tenacity, because he's very weak against CC. So tenacity is going to be very helpful in the late game to avoid CC, right? Because stuns are going to take less long, charms are going to take not as long. So Hunter Titan, actually, I would say 100% of the games, really. I always go for this item. Like, let's say the enemy has 0 CC, then you can actually choose to go for Bone Plating, right? But just stick to the Hunter Titan, guys. Stick to the Hunter Titan. As your fourth rune, Mastermind. No other rune. Khazix, like, from all the champions in Wild Rift, Khazix is the fastest dragon and Baron taker, by far. Like, there's not even anyone that's close to Khazix as to taking dragons and Baron. So this one is going to make it even faster. So keep that in mind. Get a Mastermind. So enough about the build. Let's get into the gameplay. Alright, on to the gameplay, guys. And yeah, Khazix, guys. You know, I told you guys, like 1500 likes, I'll do Khazix. So I spammed Khazix. I actually played Khazix before too. You know, I played like a few games of Khazix. And I actually got pretty good at him. You know, I gotta say, I did int a lot of games on him, but then you know, because that was the reason for that was because I was playing him wrong. So in this video, I'll show you all the things that you need to do on Khazix, all the little tips and tricks that you need to do, and you know, you just need to watch this, and I'll change your opinion on Khazix. So let's start with the jungle clear. This is already the first point. Khazix has the fastest jungle clear in the game. Abuse this. Let me tell you how you can abuse this. So there's two things that you can do. Actually, three things. There's three things that you can do. The first thing is clearing out the red buff and then these ones, the wolves, and then gank. Do this if a lane is really low. I don't recommend it because it's super high risk, but you can do this if like the enemy mid laner is super low. Second thing that you can do is you can just do a normal clear, right? Clear your red buff, clear the wolves, clear the blue buff, and then go to the scuttle. I don't recommend this one. Let me tell you why now. You can do the full clear on Khazix. Now let me explain how you do this. Actually, I'm gonna ask you guys. And you know, sometimes I ask easy questions and sometimes I ask really hard questions. The full wait, actually, I'm not gonna pause the video. I don't even need to. The full clear is red buff, wolves, these ones, these three things, the blue buff, and the big brown fat guy. So you clear the entire jungle. When do you do this, and what do you have to pay attention to on the map when you do this? Like, what do you need to pay attention to do this? Because as you can see, we're at 1 minute 30. You know, the scuttle is up and enemies could potentially take the scuttle, but I'm still doing a full clear. Tell me why in the comments, and this will really test your knowledge. If you know this, pretty good knowledge. So, okay. I'll give you guys some time to answer. As you can see, going for the scuttle as well. And after the scuttle, you will be level 5 before minute 2. There is not a single champion that's ever going to be level 5 before minute 2. Trust me, guys. There just isn't. Kha'zix is the only champion that can do that. So, okay, let me tell you why actually. So when the game starts, you start at your red buff. You pay attention to the map. Check, or first of all, you pay attention to the enemy champion. Like, do they have a Lee Sin? Do they have Evelyn? If they have an Evelyn or a Fizz, for example, there is a chance that they start at the blue buff. Take a look at which lane is leashing them. Like, you can take a look. Is the enemy Baron laner missing? Or is the enemy Dragon laner missing? You can pretty much tell where they are starting their jungle in the high elo, right? And in low elo, see, with low elo, it's a bit different because people are not gonna leash. So this tip doesn't really work that well for low elo, but in higher elo, you can check which lane is leashing the jungler. And if the red buff is getting a leash, you can do a full clear. However, there is another thing to keep in mind. You have to look at your laners. Can your laners win the lane? See, the reason for that is because they have to have lane priority. Because potentially the enemy jungler might go to your scuttle immediately after clearing their scuttle. So, for example, Garen should win against the Darius early game. There is another thing, by the way, guys. Pay attention to where the enemy has put wards in the early game. If they put wards on your scuttle side, then they will know that you haven't taken it yet. Keep that into consideration, right? You really want to have mid laner and mid laner and a Baron laner or Dragon laner, depends on who is on which side, that can have lane priority, so they can rotate and help you. Okay, another thing to note, I'm gonna quickly go back here, 4 minutes. I'm gonna show you real quick. Take a look at which ability I'm gonna upgrade. Take a look. I upgraded my first ability 2 times. And my, instead of my third ability. So let me tell you the reason for that and go back to where we were. The reason for that is faster jungle clear. When you clear your full jungle, you're gonna get level 4 anyways. So instead of upgrading your third ability, you don't need it. Just upgrade your first ability again when you get level 3. So you can clear the jungle even faster, guys. Keep that in mind. These are the little things, but they could be game changing because you're gonna clear your jungle a few seconds faster. So, okay, let's talk about ganking lanes with Khazix. Khazix is a very strong ganker, very, very strong, especially very strong at ganking the Baron laner and the mid laner. See, the reason for that is because they're going to be isolated, they're going to be alone, but you have to tell your team to push out the minion wave. See, the reason for that is because when the enemy laner is standing next to their minions, they're not going to be isolated, so you're not going to do a lot of damage to them. The whole point of Khazix is isolation. And before finishing, let's look at this. Take a look at this. Look at how fast I'm doing the dragon. Look. Just look. How crazy is this? And here. Boom. I just got it in like 5 seconds. This is what you can do on Khazix, guys. You can just rush the dragon. So if you see that the enemy is like, not really close to the dragon, just do it. Just rush it. You're literally gonna get it in 5 seconds. It's crazy. Like, if your whole team helps you, you're gonna get it in 4 or 5 seconds. It's crazy. And this is also a thing that you have to do on Khazix. Abuse it, guys. You have to abuse the powers of Khazix. And one of his powers is taking the dragon. Like, you can absolutely demolish the dragon super fast. So, when you're playing jungle, tell your team, guys, I'm Khazix. Help me at the dragon. I'm gonna get it super fast. And super fast jungle clear, super fast dragon clear. Abuse it. And I've already showed you 2 things in the video. I took the dragon very fast, and I did a full jungle clear. I'm almost level 8 right now. I'm super ahead of the game. It's really, even though I got killed, I still provided a lot to my team, and I farmed up myself really, really well. Don't feed then. Wait, what happened? What did people say? I kind of missed it, but so I want to give a challenge to this video as well, actually. If you're watching up to this point too, a lot of people have been asking me for Katarina videos. And some people might be excited because I'm saying this right now. Let me say this. If this video reaches, I'm not gonna make it this is gonna be a hard goal. If this video reaches 2,000 likes, I'm gonna play as much Katarina until I get good enough at her to make a video. I said it, I said it already. I cannot take it away anymore. I said it. I'm kind of regretting it now because Katarina's pretty hard. if this video reaches 2,000 likes, I'm gonna learn Katarina. I'm gonna make a Katarina video. So if you want to see Katarina, make sure you give this video a like, you know. Also, I'm doing, oh yeah, true, I'm doing a skin giveaway, giving away 15 skins. All you gotta do is put down a comment under this video, and I really hope you answered the question that I gave earlier today, earlier in the video, you know, because these things, like these questions that I ask you, I carefully think about these questions because, oh, the Rengar just killed me. But these questions will really test your knowledge and make you a smarter and better player. So, you know, I really recommend you to participate in it. I really do. You know, nothing is forced, of course. If you don't want to, you don't. But it's just going to be good for you. So here I got caught by the Rengar. And, you know, I'm not really having the game of my life. I'm 0-2 right now. But it's not the end of the world that I'm 0-2. And the reason for that is because I farmed so hard, so I'm not really behind, and I took the dragon for my team. Of course, you know, it sucks that I'm 0-2, it's definitely not good, but I don't want to show you guys a game where I just completely wipe the enemy team. I also want to show you these games, right, where I struggle a little bit. I think it's better, you know, so you guys can see I'm also a human, and it's definitely not that I win every game or something like that. So take a look at this fight. Like, I was not even engaging up until this point. When they were isolated. Take a look at this. Boom. So if you want to scroll back to the video, you can see that that's a fight that Khazix doesn't want to fight. See, Khazix never want to fight in like fights where everyone is sticking together. You never want to engage in those fights. If your team engages in a fight like that, you don't even go in. All you gotta do is wait. And the reason that you wait is because you want to wait until an enemy gets low, and then you jump on that enemy and kill them. So that's the whole thing with Khazix, guys. This is the playstyle that you need to have with Khazix. Catching out isolated enemies. Like, I'm telling you guys, when you hit an enemy that's not isolated, you're useless. You're actually gonna deal 0 damage. Like, I'm not even kidding. You will literally deal, I think, 80% less damage, something like that. Do you want to deal 80% less damage? No, of course you don't. So it's all about isolated enemies. So take a look at this, you know. You can see when an enemy is isolated, like the Darius was isolated there. Never fight in mid lane like this. Never. As you can see, I'm avoiding the fight. I'm just going on the Rengar. Take a look at this. Here. This is where you're strong at. Boom! Just completely demolish the Rengar, guys. This is the whole point of Khazix. Here. Catching out the Zed. Boom! Another kill. Catching out the Darius. And boom! Another kill. This is Khazix. I don't want to scream too much because it's like 1 AM right now, but this is Khazix, and this is how you play Khazix. This was the perfect example, perfect example on how to completely utilize Khazix kit. So let me repeat, guys. With Khazix, you don't go into the enemy you don't go into the enemy when they're sticking together. You wait until they split up a little bit. And there's, you know, they will split up when the fight has been going for a few seconds. So you're not gonna be the initiator in a team fight. Never. Let your team initiate. In this case, let the Garen initiate. You know, they're gonna hit enemies. You know, your team is gonna make unfavorable trades because it's a 4 versus 5. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. I am just waiting for isolated targets. Isolated Rengar. You know, the Rengar was isolated. And here you can see the Darius is not isolated. So I'm not dealing a lot of damage. I actually almost killed the Rengar. It's kind of sad that I didn't. I'm here trying to chase him here, but he actually saw me, unfortunately. So guys, this is how you play Rengar. Like, you can, Khazix. You can see that every time, you know, I'm not initiating. Like here, Garen initiated, I take the kill. Just look at this. Like, this is the power of Khazix. You're gonna completely burst down isolated enemies. Here, they're both together. I'm not going in. I only go in for this guy. And just come on, guys. When you play Khazix to his powers and you play him like I'm telling you you should play him, you will actually be able to carry games. You will be able to carry games. It's just like, see, the thing with Khazix is it might feel a bit weird playing him, you know, because you're probably gonna feed your games because you're gonna be engaging team fights and think like, why the hell is he dealing 0 damage? I don't get it. And the reason for that is because you're not supposed to engage. You wait for your team to engage, and then you catch out those enemies. You catch out the squishy backline, you jump on them with your third ability, and you completely demolish them. Here, isolated Darius, look at this, guys. Isolated Darius, he cannot do anything. You will deal so much damage to them. Whenever you see someone in the side lane, for example, just kill them. Here, an isolated Rengar, you know, he had to use everything to escape. So as you can see, even though the enemy Rengar is next to a jungle camp, he's still isolated, but it doesn't work against minions. So if the enemy is next to minions, he's not going to be isolated. Keep that in mind, guys. This is also a good counter tip against the Kha'zix. When you're playing against a Kha'zix in your game, don't stay alone in your lane without minions. You always want to be next to minions, guys, because the minions are going to reduce the damage from the Kha'zix. Keep that in mind. So here in this game, you can see that I went for full lethality. Right now, I have 3 flat armor penetrating items, which is going to be incredibly powerful against their squishies, you know, against Seraphim, against Xayah, against Zed. Like, I'm going to shred them here. Zed, boom. There is no Zed. Xayah, boom. Oh, I just jumped on the Darius with full stacks though. Ouch. Someone gave the Darius full stacks and I didn't see it. That was horrible. That was horrible for my team and horrible from me too. Like, I should have known that, I should have seen that the Darius had full stacks. And here, you know, I'm kind of crying about the Kai'Sa, and it's kind of true. Like, where was the Kai'Sa? But it's okay, you know, you should focus on yourself. Like, at this point, I'm just kind of, yeah. So here, you know, I'm just telling my team, guys, please be careful with the Darius stacks. And, you know, when you play against the Darius, obviously, that's the whole point of Darius. When he gets his full stacks, he can still carry team fights. So we just want to poke him. We don't want to engage in a fully fledged team fight against the Darius. Yeah, if we don't give the Darius stacks, we just win the fight. So you guys can see. Here, I'm going to repeat it again. Oops, I just clicked on my screen. What happened? What did I do? Okay, now it's good. Here, look, I'm just looking for a vulnerable target. I'm not going to engage first. You know, just letting my team do their thing. And I'm gonna wait. Here, like here, the dragon is up, but I don't want to take it. And oh, Rengar goes on me. He's isolated. Rengar went on me, but he was isolated. Here, Seraphim isolated. What do? Kill the Seraphim. Who else is gonna be isolated? Xayah isolated. I kill the Xayah. Zed isolated. I kill the Zed. Please dare to tell me that Kha'Zix is not good, guys. You just suck at Kha'Zix. That's the reason. I wanna tell you guys one thing before finishing this video. The first 8 Kha'Zix games that I played, I lost all of them. I hope that makes you feel a little better. The first 8, I lost all of them. So now, let's hope you don't lose your first 8 Kha'Zix games after watching this video, you know? So, by the way, you know, I actually won a lot of Kha'Zix games recently because I actually did understand how to play him now. So thank you guys very much for watching. That was it for today's video, and you know, make sure you give this video a like if you want to see some Katarina. So yeah, I will see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.